Good morning and welcome to this morning's session. I can see we've got about 9 or 10 people expecting this morning, and so far we've got about 2 logged in. So to those of you already booked in, Graham and Jan, welcome on this morning. I think we'll just wait a couple more minutes for a few more people to come in. I know some people can take a few minutes just to get on here, and then we'll just jump straight into the spotlight session. And this morning we're going to have a great session with a guy called James Ashford, who's going to take us through some interesting stuff as well. So we'll just wait a few more minutes and then we'll get properly started on it. And good morning to those of you who just come in. We're just waiting for a few more people. We're expecting about 9 or 10 people. I know sometimes people take a few minutes just to get in here, so we'll just wait a few minutes before we get properly started on this. Maybe one more person to log in and then we'll get going. I think when my clock says it's 3 minutes past 9, we're going to get going. So another 10 seconds or so, and then we'll jump in from there. Okay, I think we'll get started then. So we are recording this, so if anybody misses any bits here, they can always go back to it. So good morning, everybody. Welcome onto this morning's Spotlight session. I think we've got quite a bumper session this morning. I'm going to share a lot of information and gain a lot of knowledge. So firstly, I need to make sure that my screen is actually shared with you. Yep, it is. Okay, so we're going to have a chat with James Ashford this morning. And James, before I say anything more, I think let's just hand over to you. I'm sure you can do a good introduction of yourself, and then take us through some of the software, which I know you do, and I've seen it, and I'm pretty impressed with it. And I'm sure that my clients on this program would love to find out more about it. So, James, over to you.
Yeah. Hey, Rudy. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Am I coming through loud and clear?
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's cool. If it drops, just give us a kick and I'll sort it out. Yeah, that's cool. Well, hi, everybody. Yeah, so my name's James Ashford. For the last, I guess, 10 years, I've been working with businesses, helping them to grow their business, implementing systems, helping them to scale and to provide better experiences for their clients. And then a couple of years ago, I started working exclusively with accountants and implementing systems into their business. And one of the first challenges that I encountered with a firm that I started working with, a firm in Manchester, was that they thought they had systems in place. They thought they were doing everything right. And when I got speaking to them, they had been looking to other accountants to figure out how to do certain things, which is fine. But there's a big wide world out there with other businesses, and all these different businesses have kind of figured out different solutions to things. And so what I did was I introduced my accountancy place to some other solutions that we'd come across and that we developed for our clients that had worked to great effect. And the main one really was about the selling process, because if you can't sell everything that your clients need in the quantities and quality that they need them, then ultimately you're not able to give the most value you possibly can to your clients. And I don't mean about selling things that people don't need or that's not right for them. I'm not a believer of that at all. I really believe in starting with how you can help them and overcome the challenges and grow with the clients. I'm not of the school of sell them as much as you can, stack it high. I'm not part of that. And so what I was able to do was to bring some of the valuable lessons that I'd learned in other industries with other businesses and how I'd help them to overcome some real challenges. And I don't think I said this to you, Rudy, when I spoke. Where this actually came from, what I'm going to share with you today, I was working with, they're a skip broker company of all things, and they were opening customer accounts. They had to sell customer accounts, open new accounts, and they were a big business. They were turning over £13 million at the time, and they had a real issue with how they sold new accounts to clients, and they were typically doing less than 10 a month, less than 10 new accounts. And as it got towards winter, they opened less and less accounts. So summer's the big time for them, and as it tapers off towards winter. So it got to September, they opened 8 new accounts. In October, they opened 6 new accounts. And then all I did was introduce some very simple technology, made everything simpler, took out a lot of the rubbish that wasn't needed in the process, and just really made it a lot clearer. So they went from 8 to 6, and then when we introduced this, the following month in November, they opened 56 new accounts. And
Wow.
they maintained that level. So it's 7, I think 7, you accountants are better than me at maths, but it was a 7 times increase. And they introduced lots of other innovations, but they grew that business to £24 million and sold it last year. And so what I was able to bring to the accountant that I worked with in Manchester was kind of real world, on the ground, things that actually worked in large businesses with people. Because this is the thing, everybody thinks that their business is different. Accountants think their business is different to a skip broker, and skip broker thinks it's different to a web designer and everybody else. But fundamentally, we're all in the same business, which is the people business. Whatever business you think you're in the people business. And what we do, what accountants do, is affect people's lives. You affect your clients' lives, you affect their staff's lives, you affect their clients' lives by helping them to make better decisions and providing them with the services that they need. So there's no difference to these other businesses. So that's kind of a bit of an intro, Rudy.
Good,
So
thanks very much, James.
could I take the presenter role? Could
Yes.
you make me the presenter? Is that okay?
Yep, let's get over to your screen. You can share your screen with us.
That's cool. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen here.
Yeah, that's cool. Cool, guys. Okay. So I just want to share with you just the 5 things that my accountancy place were getting wrong when I started working with them, just before I introduce the technology that we use to solve these problems. And
sorry,
when
James,
I say,
just to jump in here, sorry.
yeah,
If
yeah.
anybody has any questions as we go through, please feel free to type it into your chat box or the question box, and if James can't see that, I'll read it out to him as we go through it if you have any questions.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
James,
cool.
back to you.
Thanks, Rudy. And so these are the 5 things that accountants typically get wrong. And I just want to put a caveat in here, which is it's not your fault. The fact that if you are making these mistakes, it's not your fault. It might be that you've not been shown this or trained in this. It might be that you've had some training in this or invested in mentoring or whatever, and that's not quite been right. But I know that when I spoke to Rudy, that the reason why we connected was because we aligned in this type of thinking. And so it's awesome that you're working with Rudy, because I know there's a lot of other people out there who don't get this. And there's only a couple of people that I'm interested in, that I work closely with or am really interested in working with in this space. And Rudy's one of them, because of his real belief in helping you guys to deliver more value to your clients. So that's what this is all around. So the first challenge that accountants can have is they don't sell everything that their clients need. And so it's because we maybe have a fear of selling. You know, there's a history in accountancy. 30 years ago, you weren't really allowed to sell. You certainly weren't allowed to market your business. So there is a history within the industry of not being allowed to sell, and typically we don't like to do that. And I just always say that selling is the most valuable skill that you can have in your firm. And I don't even mean selling your services. I just mean the ability to sell. It might be that you need to sell your clients on the fact that they need to reconcile their accounts on time, or it might be that you need to sell your client on the fact that they need to take that new member of staff on, or that they don't need to take that, or they need to get rid of a member of staff. But so the ability to sell, to be able to influence your clients is really, really valuable, and obviously that comes into actually selling your services as well. The next issue is you don't charge for everything that you provide. I know that you guys wanted to provide tremendous value to your clients, and very often we can go above and beyond doing more for our clients, as you know, and they make extra demands of you, and you want to provide extra services, and so you don't end up charging for everything that you provide. And just to say here as well is we only really believe in like a monthly recurring revenue model. So, you know, when I say charging, I mean adding it to their monthly fee. And so if you don't do this, 1 or 2 things happens. One is you either don't charge for it and let profit slip through your fingers, or number 2, you end up hitting your client with one-off bills throughout the year which they didn't expect, which they're not going to be happy about, and that's not really cool. The next one is that you don't convert enough clients over to yourself. and so you end up losing clients, and this can be very frustrating, especially if you know that you're a great accountant and you are losing them to other firms down the road who just are not as committed as you to their clients. You end up wasting too much time in the sales process, too much valuable, chargeable time, chasing clients, agreeing fees, producing proposals, producing letters of engagement, and if you're wasting time doing that, what you then don't do is you don't allow the rest of your team to do that either. So typically, if you're the business owner or you might have one salesperson, you end up taking this job on because you don't want your guys to be wasting their time. But when it comes to selling, this is not just selling to prospects. The main place to sell is to existing clients by doing regular fee reviews, which brings us on to our last point, which is that you don't do fee reviews often enough and upsell the services that they need. And you don't carry out fee reviews in terms of what that reflect a client's circumstances, so that they might have more employees, they might have more bank transactions, they might have a greater turnover, and you've not adjusted your fee to reflect that, or they might have new circumstances whereby they need additional services and you've not carried out that fee review, again because it takes so much time. So typically these were the main challenges that we've solved with this, what I'm about to share with you now. Have you got any points on that, Rudy? Or
yeah, James, I think it would be interesting just to ask people who are listening this morning, just go ahead into the question box and type for us which of those numbers you would reckon that you're still getting wrong at this stage of the game. It would be interesting to see where you think this is relevant to your world. So just go into the question box and just type in a few numbers. And I won't even say the names yet, let's just see. So we've got one person coming in saying 2, 4, and 5.
Is that all from one person, Rudy, or is that different people?
That was from the first person.
Yeah,
Next person was 1, 4, and 5. Next person 4. Next person 2, 2 and 4, 1. Okay, so
interesting.
people are not really pushing number 3 at this stage of the game, but they go with 1, 2, 4, and 5 seem to come up quite a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least we know that's what James is going to share with us in his software, and that he does, which cover those points, may actually be relevant. Okay, good stuff. Sorry, James, back to you.
No, that's great, so thank you. So you can see my screen here, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is my accountancy place in Manchester, of which I'm now a director as well, and we're a very niche practice. They made me I'm only a small percentage director, but just to get me involved with the firm, really. We're very niche. We only focus on creative agencies, mainly around the Manchester area, and we actually pass a lot of work to other accountants. So we're always very interested in connecting with other accountants, so we get a lot of inquiries in, and if they're not a digital agency, we pass them straight on to other firms. Paul and I are big advocates and believers of sharing everything that we know and everything that we've learnt, and that was why I introduced the software that I developed to them, and why he's a keen advocate of me sharing. So that's why I just always explain that as well. So let me introduce you to the software. So if you just imagine the situation, you've arranged a meeting with a prospect, or you've arranged a meeting with an existing client to carry out a fee review. They may have already had some information from you. You've already primed them to start with. That would be what I would advocate. And now we're sat in a meeting with them, either online or face-to-face, and we're taking them through this pricing tool together. I'm a big believer of packages. So my accountancy place, we have different size agencies, and so the reason why we have packages in there is because it means that if he's got other members of staff doing this, he doesn't have to think about what services they need. We've already thought that through, and so I'm a huge fan of that, because it means that it's specifically targeted to them. That's not to say that we can't take services out and add other ones in, but it's just a really good starting point. One of the key things that we do is we put their turnover in here, so that we have some of the pricing is reflective around turnover, and obviously start date and end date for this term. And then what we do is, while we sat with a client, is we're able to agree the services that they want for their size of business, for where they are, just very easily. So we can go through, we can add the services that they want, we can put the number of employees here, we can explain whether it's weekly or monthly, how they do their payroll, director's tax, whatever services you want. You can add as many services as you want in here. You can configure them to be however you want. You can configure the pricing in very complex ways. There's a lot of innovation in here as well around the pricing that Paul's brought to the party. One is how they charge for their services, their monthly management accounts. There's some nice innovation around that. Another one is around their bookkeeping services. They're huge believers that if you can solve the bookkeeping, you can solve everything else. Bookkeeping, get that right, everything else comes out. So the way they do it is their bookkeeping is charged on the number of if you want them to raise your invoices for you, if you want them to carry out credit control, how many invoices need chasing, whatever it is that you do. So everything's figured out very specifically, so that they know that they're charging for the right things. Zero support, client coordinator, confirmation statement, zero, receipt bank. So everything's in here for what that client needs, and then what it enables them to do is to get a calculation while they're sat with the client and show them, and this is a monthly fee, that for the services here it's going to be £814 a month, and if they need to see a breakdown of those services, they can do. And typically, you know, when we're in kind of this position, they might say, wow, that's way more than I'm paying what I'm paying for now. And the way that we do it at my accountancy place is we're not competing with other accountants. We are competing with that company providing the full finance function themselves. So if they was to get their own bookkeeper, their own financial controller, their own FD, whatever, even part-time basis, that's what we're actually competing with. And we actually base our numbers on, you should be aiming to, for a business, they should be aiming to invest 1.25% of their turnover into the finance function of their business. 1.25% of their turnover. That's what we base one of the things that we base our numbers on, and we tell our clients that. We tell them that that's what they should be investing. So we provide all those, the outsourced finance function, and again, they could bring them services in-house. If they said, well, this is too much, this is where it's really cool, because we don't need to kind of negotiate. We can say, okay, well, if that's too much for you, not a problem. Let's meet you where you are now. We will take monthly management accounts out, but you know what? I'm going to put it in there as something that you should certainly be considering for the future. And you're going to do your own VAT returns. That's fine. That's not a problem. And whatever, let's say there we go. And then we can recalculate while we sat with them, and we can agree the fees and say, does this look, you know, is this more in the ballpark? And then what you're doing here, we're not sending a proposal off where we're guessing. This is a real problem here, that there's a lot of guesswork can go into this. I want this agreed with the client while they're sat with us now. And this figure here, £440, this is around the average fee of my accountancy place, but they have clients £1,000, £2,000 a month paying for their services as well. Do you have any questions around that, Rudy, or any observations, or anyone got any questions around that phase?
Yeah, if you've got any questions, then please type them into your question box. James, if somebody, let's say we want to add a new service, let's say we want to start selling advisory services or whatever else, can that be added onto this?
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah, we give you a lot of control. This is the back end of the software, Rudy, which we train you in and which comes fully configured. We actually convince Paul to allow us that when someone signs up for this, we preload it with all of my accountancy places pricing, just as a starting point, so you don't get an empty shell, and then obviously you can take out what you don't want. But this section here that you're referring to, Rudy, is the line items here, and so okay, these are all the different services and all the different sections that are in here. You can add as many services as you want. You can add a new line item. What service was it you were adding there, Rudy?
Business advisory.
Business advisory. I'm sorry, you've given me a difficult word to spell there, Rudy. Advisory. Advisory.
Doesn't matter what you do. No problem.
Stick with that. Okay. And you can come up with different. You can be very complex with. So it could be a level of service. So you could have the level of service in there. So you could have our, I don't know, our FC level service. You could have our FD level service in there, and this could be like £100 an hour or £150 an hour, and then you could calculate that by a quantity, which is the number of hours a month. I don't really believe in charging by the hour. I don't like the hourly way of pricing. So what I might do in there is actually have kind of packages. So yeah, like a package of services in there. So it might be for our, I know, our standard package, which we know is 4 hours. I can spell that. 4 hours. And it might be our advanced package, which is more hours as well. So that's how you can. Sorry, I shut it down quickly there.
Okay, so it's definitely doable then.
And you can layer this up with very complex pricing if you wanted to as well. So yeah, you've got you can add as many layers of pricing that you wish to add, and you could even be based on their turnover as well. If you wanted to calculate pricing based on what their turnover was, you can do that very easily as well.
Okay, so you've got a standard tool, yeah, but it's completely configurable to whatever we need as a practice then.
Yeah, and Paul has really spent a lot of time with a lot of innovation in there, Rudy, really wanting to bring all of that complexity in there. And so this is not just a tool, but a lot of thinking over several years. Paul's been through all of AVN 2020 training, been through all of that stuff, and kind of came to his own conclusions around how he wanted to price. And so that was it. And then when we come to send the the proposal to the client, we do that while we're with them. So I'm just going to put my details there. That's the details. That's all we need from the client's point of view. It preloads all of your staff's members of details in there. I'm a big advocate of agreeing a follow-up date with the client, so saying, look, how long is it going to take you to make a decision about this? I don't want you to rush you, but I don't want to pressure you. I don't want to pester you either. So let's agree a follow-up date. And also, this is a really key bit. Really, you'll like this. If this is a success, if our working together is successful and everything we're doing here achieves your goals, what does success look like for you? What does the future look like? So it might be we are now turning over 3 million with a profit of whatever it is, 25%, something like that. And we want to get to that point by the 1st of January 2020. That's what success would look like for us. And it's very important to get them to commit to what they're doing and why they're going to be paying these extra fees. And there might be extra things in there, and it takes me no time at all. You know, something like that, to get them to commit to that. And then that's it. We send them the proposal there and then, and then what the tool does, it takes kind of less than 10 seconds to do that. So just give it a few seconds to do it. Could play some music while this is happening, but there we go, we're done. And then what this will do is instantly it sends through to the client. Here we go, Paul Barnes. It sends them through the proposal with your branding on there, with all of their details in, inspirational quotes from yourself or client testimonials. Client testimonials are a great thing to include in proposals, by the way, because this is your salesman in the room once you've left. So it's a really useful thing. Has a full breakdown of all the fees with what your turnover is and everything else. It has that inspirational quote in there by you, so you know why you're going to be paying this extra money and why you're committing to this. It has what happens next, what will happen once you've signed up for our services, all of our fees explained in great detail for the services that you've chosen, and then also those additional services that you didn't go for. It's got a breakdown of those in there as well, so you can see what that looked like as well. And on top of that, it also produces the letter of engagement for you, all there ready to rock and roll in draft format with all of your details pulled in, referencing all the services that you've just signed up for. And then when you're ready to sign it, it takes you through to a sign-off page, fully branded with your stuff. You can sign it on there, confirm acceptance, and then that sends you. I won't do it because this actually will trigger things off in my accountancy place if I do this. But what happens here is I'll get my phone will be ringing. They'll start onboarding me. So what happens is here is you click this. You will then get sent an instant letter of engagement through to you, and you can then also direct them. This is really cool, to any page that you want on your website. And what we actually, this is the next level stuff, but this is not included in the system. But you can direct them where you want. Once you've signed that, my accountancy place, we direct them to a welcome video and straight into the fact find form to start onboarding that client straight away as well. And that then takes them into an onboarding system, but that's kind of the next level. But that's where GoProposal will take you up to. And in the back end, Rudy, back to your question before, you've got complete configurability to control the PDF, the proposal that goes out, and to amend all the content in there, to amend the letter of engagement and put all of your T's and C's into here, and just put all your branding in there and make it look exactly and work exactly as you want it to. There we go.
Good stuff. Now, I know I was an advocate of, just to mention that I was an advocate of quick, easy quote before, and they do a lot of things that he's done this GoProposal as well, although I think James does more, especially with his letter of engagement as well. And he just touched on it it triggers onto other software that makes it a very powerful group as a whole. But just this bit here. But it's come to my awareness that with Quick Easy Quotes, I believe, don't quote me on this one, but the main shareholder has or is personally going bust, and there may be a bug in their system which they may not be getting around to sorting out at the moment. So potentially there may be challenges with that software, and this is I think, a fantastic alternative. James, your thought on this software as opposed to spreadsheets or other software that does similar things?
Yeah, sure. Paul started with spreadsheets, and I signed up as a client of of my accountancy place, and I sat with Paul. I was so excited about these. This is true story, Rudy. I was with my previous accountant, and I was paying £150 a month. They wanted to upsell me to some bookkeeping services for £250 a month, and I couldn't see the value in what they were providing me with. I then moved over to my accountancy place and started paying £550 a month because I could see the value in that. And I went to see Paul, and this is where it all started really. I was so excited about what he presented me with, because I've had a business that's gone bust in the past many years ago, and I learned a valuable lesson with that, and I understand the importance of having the finance function taken care of in your business. So when I saw what they were offering me, it was like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I wish I'd had this before. I was so excited. I then got on the train, and this is true. This is really important, this. I got on the train from Manchester back to Doncaster, and I kept checking my phone for an email from him. So he'd agreed the price on the spreadsheet, but I'd had nothing from him. I got on the train, got back, had nothing from him. Got back home, told my wife what I was about to do, and she said, that's expensive. I then went to see my brother, who's also in business, told him what I was about to do, and he said, why are you paying all that? That's ridiculous. And these people had not been privy to the conversation that I'd had with my accountancy place. But I wasn't armed with everything that I needed to convince them otherwise. So 2 days had passed, 3 days had passed, I'd still not had a proposal, and now Paul had to remake the sale to me again. He had to resell the whole thing to me again, taking more time because he'd not given me everything that I needed. So you need to be able to produce these proposals fast. You need to be able to do it, straight away. In fact, in this presentation, I've actually put what you need to be able to do at the end of this, sorry. Let's back up a second. I'll tell you all the things that you need to do. You need to be able to, here we go. Package up your services, agree the fees with your clients while you're with them, which the spreadsheet would do, be able to include services for them to consider later, confirm their goals, agree a follow-up date, produce an instant proposal. We had a client sign up for this, an accountant sign up for this, and this is true. This last month, sorry, the video on my website about this. The client that they signed up had been to see 2 other accountants that day. He was the 3rd accountant they saw. He was the only accountant out of the 3 that was able to produce the proposal, and by 5 p.m. that day, the client had signed the letter of engagement. By the time they had signed the letter of engagement and paid started paying for the services, the other 2 accountants had still not sent a proposal over. That's why you have to move at that speed. And also, to produce a letter of engagement, Practice Ignition can do that for you. Practice Ignition is a great piece of software. A lot of people move over to us from Practice Ignition because what ours can do is obviously generate it automatically while you're with them. And so we've incorporated those things into here. So these are the things, and this is another part. If Paul had had the ability for me to sign up for that there and then, Rudy, I would have signed up for those services beyond the train going home, having made the decision, rather than be waiting for a proposal. That's the difference.
Mm. And James, I recall you also mentioned the other day about, I remember you actually showing me the email of a client who'd only managed ever to sign up a maximum fee of about $350 a month, and they started using the software in the free trial period. And
yeah,
do you mind just sharing us with that?
Yeah, and this, anything I share with you, the people will have given permission to share this. And again, this is on the website. Nick allowed me to share this. So this was 11 days ago, and so I'd sent an email out saying, how are you getting on? And he'd come back and said, just let you know, we've signed up a one director company at £626 a month, by far my largest ever customer. Not sure I would have ever priced in this way before, and I wouldn't have even offered these extra services that now are in there, which looking back seems really stupid. So I was like, that's incredible. What was your largest client before that? And he put here, my largest client before was £300, so a massive difference, and it feels awesome. And this was a cold contact that had come to him from LinkedIn. So to be able to and that's the thing that it does. Listen, this is key. This is really key. Your competition isn't other accountants. Your competition is anyone I choose to compare you to. And if I can go on Amazon today and I can order something off Amazon and have it delivered to my house tomorrow, I then come to you and ask for a proposal to sign up for your services, rightly or wrongly, I'm comparing you to Amazon, not the other firm of accountants down the road. We need to operate at a world-class level, and for me to be able to, there's technology out there now that enables you to do this. There's no excuse not to be able to not operate at that level, and being able to provide something of that quality, I believe, is one of the reasons. In fact, I know it is, because with my accountancy place, we've had people sign that have said the quality of the sign-up process was that strong, it gave us such confidence in your company, you just blew everyone else out of the water. That was one of the reasons they put down as why they signed up.
And for me, I must say that's why I love the software, because part of the whole onboarding process that we teach, you know, it's about being on top of things, and this is quite a systematic approach. It's pretty standardized, which means that you can hand it over to other staff members to do it and use it, and it's instant. It's just there.
That's a great
thinking out of it.
That's a great point, Rudy. When I met Paul, he had one salesperson himself doing it, and now he has 4 members of staff doing it, and they do fee reviews on a quarterly basis now, not on an annual basis, on a quarterly basis, because it's so easy for them to generate a new, so they can be sat with a client and they can say, okay, well, you're a new, we'll do a fee review or a mid-year fee review, and because your circumstances have increased, we can now do this with you, and you've got extra staff, extra whatever, or you need management accounts now. And what we do is we don't believe in getting the letter of engagement signed again because you've signed them up. So all this system does, it sends a second letter of engagement out that doesn't require a signature, and it just says, if you by continuing to pay for our services, you are therefore accepting your new letter of engagement and the terms and conditions within it. And that stacks up legally, and it just means there's no messing about. They then just adjust the invoice in Xero. That then takes off more payment off them from GoCardless, and they just crack on. It's a 5-minute task.
Getting them set up on GoCardless, can that be linked, or is that a manual entry into GoCardless to get them onto it?
It's not linked at the moment, so I think well, you can use directly to connect your Xero app up to GoCardless. Then if you just adjust the invoice in Xero, it will automatically take the additional fee off them that month. Okay. This will be integrated with Xero. We're developing that tomorrow, actually, so it will. So once someone signs up, it generates a draft version of a recurring invoice for you in Xero, if that's what you've got, and then QuickBooks will come in the next few months, in the next month as well.
Okay, fantastic. James, just one at a time. We've got to go over to Colin very soon with the value pricing question as well. But if people, cool. I believe you guys offer a free trial period. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we do take card details off you to commit to that trial period. But yeah, 30-day free trial, and then what we do is we jump in that with you. We help. It comes fully configured out of the box. We also give you as many one-to-one sessions as you need. On every single page, there's a training video showing you how to do everything on that page. And then at the end of that time, if it works for you and it fits for you, then your payments just continue to come out. It's £100 a month. And if it's not right for you, which is not right for everybody, we just cancel it off, and then no problem.
Yeah, fantastic. Just had a question here from Jer. Hi, Rudy. Just wondering, can the engagement letter be localized for Ireland?
Yeah, everything's configurable. So yeah, you can set that up to be exactly as you want it to. If you're in, depending on what part of Ireland you're in, you can change it to the currency to be in euros or whatever you want it to come out in. And the letter of engagement is fully configurable, so you can go in and change every single aspect of this with all of your terms and conditions in. That's all fully editable to be exactly what you want. And also all the emails that go out as well. You configure everything.
Okay, Gary's come back and said, super thanks. Fantastic.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, for me, you know, I don't get anything from this, but I look at this kind of software and I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. The pricing point is I reckon, quite doable for what it's going to give you, and I would highly recommend it's worth a try. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions going through at this stage of the game, so James, I think if you don't mind, we're going to say thank you very much for sharing that with you. Just to confirm, so the website is GoProposal.com.
Correct, GoProposal.com, that's correct.
Okay, good stuff.
That's awesome. Thank you, great speaking
James.
to you. If you get any more questions, Rudy, that come through, I can answer them via you, but thank you for inviting me onto the talk today. It's been awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. I know you've got to get off to another call, so you're welcome to leave at any point you need to. So good stuff.
Brilliant. All the best. Thank you.
I'm going to take the screen back here, so thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.
Good.
See you. Bye.
All right. Thanks, James. Bye. Okay, so now from James, we're going to jump over to value pricing, and then we're going to speak to Colin Comerford as well, because he's had quite a few adventures in this arena. But before we go there, I just want to quickly run through. I'm sure you can see my screen. Let me just make sure that you can see my screen. Yeah, okay. So in the Black Belt site, under value pricing, for those of you who haven't seen this yet, there is this document called the value pricing calculator. And basically what it is, it's a standard, simple document that takes you through a process to figure out what might be the appropriate value pricing point. So client name, job name, what is it for? Broad description of the project, what's it about? What's the client trying to achieve with this? Why do they need it? And yeah, it's really important to, when you say to the client, go deep, ask, so why do you need this? I need a cash flow forecast. Well, why do you need a cash flow forecast? Well, because I need to buy some property for my business. Hey, very interesting. So why do you need to buy property for your business? Because we want to grow the business. Oh, fantastic. So why do you, and you keep on going why, and don't worry, people don't react or look at you funny when you do that. They really get, they appreciate the fact you're actually interested. And keep on going down why, and at some point you'll get to the emotional reason that underscores all of that. And it might be because I need more money to put my kids through school or university, or my wife's insisted the kids go to X, Y, and Z school, and I need this bigger business for that. Whatever, at some point you get to the emotional point, and you almost, you do need to keep on going, asking that why question until you get to that emotional reason, because that emotional reason is a much bigger why than anything else. Okay, then next point, what are the milestones and measurement metrics so the objectives are met along the way? What value will the client get out of this project? You don't necessarily have to assume this. You can ask it directly. So you're going to build this premises, you're going to increase the business. Where do you want to grow it to? Oh, I want to grow to 20 million pounds, and you're currently at 1 million. Okay, so so what value will the client get? But beyond money, also emotionally, what's the impact on them personally? If they, what's the value? Oops, there we go. So then the question, what is that worth to client in monetary terms? So you've got to take that, whatever they say, this is what I'm going to do with it, and actually translate it. And so what does that mean in your world? So how much more money are you going to make, or how much more money are you going to save, or you're going to get it? You need this cash flow to get a loan from the bank of how much, and what you can do with that cash. So translate it into pound terms, and then go and do a bit of thumb suck here. Estimate of value to client. I reckon that the specific project is worth X amount to the client, and therefore the suggested price to charge is that. And then there's another piece below that which I cut out, I realized. That is getting a check by a buddy or a sense checker. Because I might think, this is value of 100 to that person. My partner or somebody else with me might say, no ways, that's at least 300. I go, no ways, and we settle on 200. But as a process to guide you through to come up with an answer, it's a pretty useful tool. Okay, so having gone through that, Colin, let's see, you should be unmuted now. And
hello, Rudy.
Hey, Colin, great, fantastic, I can hear you, thank you very much. Okay, so do you mind sharing with us your experiences with value pricing, and just go ahead and tell us what you've been doing and what you found so far?
Yeah, I suppose it relates to one particular client and experience that we had. Just as a small bit of background to the client, Rudy, this was a new client for myself and Ger and the team here that we got in December 2015. We had known the client from a previous employment. And in relation to our services, we had done some good work for them in the first few months of 2016. Now,
Okay.
the client in question had a major business problem that hadn't been sorted out by the previous accountants, and that related to business succession. So the client had his daughter involved in the business and wanted to pass on some shares to her, but because the trading company owned a number of investment properties, it diluted the tax reliefs that were available. So the first element was that they wanted us to come up with a potential solution, and we negotiated a fee for that work. So that gave us, I suppose the client was telling us that, listen, this is a problem for me. Can you come up with a solution? And we came up. So we had a price for that, and we went off and did our work, and we came up what we would see as a very viable solution. And we presented the solution to the business owner, his wife, and our ex-boss. So effectively this was the partner in the firm where both Jar and I had worked before.
Okay.
And the fact that we had come up with the solution builds credibility, as this was the first time that they now had a plan that would solve their problem. So the next bit for us, I suppose, was the most difficult bit, in the sense of agreeing a price. And based on the work that we yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, this was probably the first project where we had the potential to, add to value price, or to add value to the price, or this, I suppose, this type of work wouldn't come along that often. And so before we had charged a price, and we were in our heads, we were probably saying, based on the hours and the time, we probably would have thought maybe around the 10 to 12,000 euros mark. And I think in the quarterly meeting we had touched on value pricing, and I suppose in the back of my mind I was saying, well, number one, this is a serious piece of work for the client.
Colin, if I might just ask a question here, just to put that 12,000 euros into perspective, what is an average client, just normal year-end accounts type stuff, whatever, what is an average client worth to you guys in a normal year?
I suppose our average fee is probably about maybe 1,500 to 1,700 euros plus VAT, and okay. Yeah, around that.
Okay,
but because we're quite a general business.
Yeah, so 1,500, 1,700, then 10 or 12,000 is like, it's pouring, it's fantastic, it's a big
yeah, absolutely. And we already had one of those other we had another engagement for a different client around that price mark at the same time. So I suppose you had mentioned value pricing in one of the quarterly meetings, and so we knew ourselves that the work was complicated and time consuming, and the client was pressing us for a price. So I remember having a call with you, and I was saying, listen, I want to give this, the client wanted a price, and I was going to give him a price over the phone. And so luckily enough, I decided to have a call with you first, which was one of those 20-minute calls, and I suppose an hour and a half or 2 hours later, we were still discussing the potential pricing on this. And I suppose I learned a number of things out of that call. The first thing I learned was, number one, do not give the price over the phone.
Such a big project.
Yeah. The second thing that I learned was that we needed to have a few more meetings with the client to cement our relationship. And you had given me an example at the time that in one of your quarterly meetings with another group, one of your clients had been given out that he lost a large project to one of the big 5 firms in the UK, and you had said to me that that the big 5 firm had met him 9 times before they agreed the price, and I suppose that resonated with us in the sense that we felt we needed to have a couple of more meetings to I suppose get to the reasons why this project was so important for this client. And
Colin, if I can just jump in there as well, just to add, you know, those meetings are really about relationship building, because the more the person sees you, touches you, feels, you know, you're there, the more they like and trust you. And often those extra reasons for going to see them are just excuses, quite frankly. You know, we need to come into your premises to come and measure something, or it's a very important question we haven't quite got to grips yet. We've got to come and see you about that. So it's really about figuring out some excuses to go and, if the project is big enough, then it's worth the extra effort. Okay, Colin, back to you.
yeah, and in fairness, because of what you had said and that example, we did exactly that. I remember after going to see this particular client with no agenda whatsoever, other than to find out about just, well, I had an agenda obviously, but other to find out about what it was just really to find out more about him personally, you know, the history of his business. It was second generation. He took over the business from his father, who died suddenly at a young age, and his issue is he wanted to succeed into the next generation. He had 5 or 6 other kids, and I found out what they were doing and any possibility that they would work in the business, and you know what he did in his spare time, holidays, all this sort of stuff, and I think that was actually invaluable in terms of the overall sales process and agreeing the fee. Now, just going back to that call I had with you and some follow-up emails, we worked out a sales plan or script for when we met in relation to confirming the price. And just around the price, we started looking at even the language we were using. Instead of using the word price, we used the word investment, stuff like that, you know. So just going on to, so rather than giving the price over the phone, we agreed to meet up again, and this time it was just myself with the business owner, and it was effectively a meeting just to agree the project and agree the price. And there was 3 headings to our sales document, and firstly it was the pains. So there was the top 3 pains that the client had. Now effectively these were, you know, he didn't want to disturb his customers, he didn't want to open up new bank accounts, he didn't want to change loan accounts, you know, he wanted the business to succeed to the next generation, he didn't want his wife to be left in a mess if he didn't go ahead and do this. You know, so effectively he repeated, he confirmed the 3 pains, and I repeated them back to him. And then we talked about the project itself, and that it was complicated, and the main element of this part was that the actual cost if he didn't do it. So effectively what we were looking at here was, if you don't go ahead and do this project, it can potentially cost you 300, and the figure turned out to be about 330,000 euros in the event of you know, taxes in terms of capital gains tax and potential inheritance tax liabilities down the line. And we actually got the client involved in the calculation of those figures. So he was there with his calculator, and he was calculating, you know, 900,000 at 33%, and he came up with the 330,000 tax figure. So the tax figure was very real to him and was a very real cost if he didn't go ahead. And also there would have been some tax implications for his daughter if it didn't go ahead, and we asked the question, would she be able to afford to pay the tax? would she have the money to pay that tax now? And the answer was no, that she wouldn't. So effectively,
Sorry, sorry, if I can just quickly jump in again. The point Colin made there about the calculator and the client sitting the calculator figuring out the numbers, that's a massive key. You know, we all understand numbers, we can do the eyes closed, but what we want to do is, it goes back to the ruling of the person who says it owns it. So if we really want the client to verbalize the fact and actually stick to the calculator, and you can just sit there, you know what, I know I can do this, but I want you to just help me. So here's a calculator, you just punch the numbers there for me. So what's the big value, and what if this and what if that? Let them punch the numbers. They've got to come up with that number, and they've got to verbalize to you that if I don't do this, this is my loss. This is what the calculator is saying, because I've just done this. So the whole thing of the person who says it owns it, massive, massive key. You know, it's not about you working out all the numbers and saying it to them, because then you own it, they don't. You want them to own it. So that's why pass in the calculator. Okay, Colin, back to you.
Okay, and so basically the tax figure was key, because effectively then that we had something to compare the price / investment to. So what we said was our fee was going to be 10% of the tax saving, but we would be prepared to discount that by 1% and cap it at 30k, so 30,000 euros. And we had broken down that there would be some costs in that for us. So there would be outsourced company secretarial, which would cost, say, 4k, two new company setups, and a company valuation. So we had, these weren't really costs. Now, some of them were, but most of them weren't, as we would have done the work ourselves on that. But effectively, we had settled. Well, what we said was that we'd look for a fee of 30k. So
Colin, the question as well.
Yeah, and at that stage, the fee wasn't agreed. So that was our first, I suppose, attempt at saying this is what we're looking for this project. And this, if you invest 30k, we will go ahead and implement the project. So even though the fee wasn't agreed, we still got the feeling that he wanted to go ahead despite the cost. And the reason I got that feeling was because it was the only time that after a meeting with this particular client, he came out of the meeting room with me, and he walked me down to the car, and he actually shook my hand. So I thought this was strange when I had actually given him the largest fee he probably ever paid before in his life. So to complicate matters, we had a further meeting with our ex-boss, who this client relies upon for mentoring and advice. And in that meeting, we just discussed some of the issues around the project, and that again went well. So we had a final meeting with the client, his wife, and our ex-boss to go through the fee. And so effectively in that meeting, the client asked our ex-boss what did he think of the fee, and he said, well, you know my feelings on that. I think it's absolutely outrageous. So that was obviously difficult in the meeting, but he said that in fairness, we had come up with a very credible plan. You've been looking at this for 3 or 4 years, and I think you should go ahead. So again, we had a subsequent call, and eventually we settled on a total fee of 28,000 euros. Effectively, we had in the back of our minds, we would have been happy with, say, about 25,000, but based on the process we got into, we probably got an extra 13 to 15,000 above what we would have originally have looked for hadn't we gone through the value pricing process and the invaluable input from Rudy. So obviously we were thrilled, and we've gone through the implementation of the first stages of the project, and we would believe that the work we've done for the client has been held in very high value, and we have a really, really strong relationship with that client. so much so that he gave us a glowing testimonial there last week.
Fantastic. But Colin, another question.
Rudy, could you just hold for a sec as my computer is about to go dead and I need to grab a cable?
Yes, please, plug it in. Okay, we'll just wait for Colin there.
Sorry, but just back there now.
Okay, good stuff. Are you okay and plugged in?
Sorry, Rudy?
Are you okay and you're plugged in now?
Yeah, no, actually, yeah, one of the girls is going to cable there. Yeah,
wait, Colin, I've got a question here for you. Just in our last 3.5 minutes here as well. Did you have to practice a bit in the mirror before you could go and verbalize to the person the price for the investment is 30,000 as opposed to what was your normal comfort zone around 10, 12? Did you have to do some work on your own mindset before you could even say that big number, or was it fairly easy?
No, I suppose yes is the answer to that, because effectively we had a meeting. That meeting sales document was key in terms of the. Hello?
I can hear you. No, Colin's sound has just disappeared there. So let's see if we can get Colin back. But in the meantime, whilst he's away, I'm going to quickly just share with you on the Black Belt sites, under the pricing section, you will find a lot of the tools that Colin was referring to. So in here, the Ask approach. In there, I explained to you how to do the why bit. So that's in there. What's this bit here? The value pricing scripts. There's a way to have this conversation with your clients, and that's in the value pricing scripts, almost word for word. And then the value pricing calculator that I showed you earlier, that is in here. So these are useful tools to put a little box of knowledge in your head and tick that box to go, okay, I'm much better now, and now this works. I've just got Colin calling in on the mobile phone, so let me just see if I can get him on speakerphone. Colin, you're on speakerphone on my phone. Colin? Oh, that's not very loud speaker. No, my phone is not. But Colin, you know what? I think because we have 10 minutes to 2 and the mobile phone is not really picking up for some reason it's not very loud. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just a volume thing. Oh no, actually, you know what? Put you on hands-free and you can still speak. Okay, so it should be fine now. Okay, Colin, so that's fine. But hey, we're in our last 2 minutes. Is there anything else that... actually, Jerry's just coming to say maybe we can just put you on his laptop just for the last minute. So actually, let me see if I can unmute Jer instead. I'm going to get back to... Okay, let's see if we can get Jer unmuted. Colin, I'm going to switch off the mobile phone because it's taking too much background noise there for us. So let's see if we can unmute Jer and just get the last minute there. Colin.
Sorry, apologies for that.
Okay, no, good. It's always good to have a backup plan. You guys are fantastic on 2 different laptops here, so that's great backup here. So, Colin, just in your last 30 seconds, I was just sharing with people the Black Belt site where they can find information. Pretty much the stuff that I shared with you is on here. But in our last 30 seconds here, is there anything else that you would like to leave us with, or any final thoughts?
I suppose the key element of that value pricing was knowing the client and knowing how important the project or the piece of work was for him in that particular situation. And this works extremely well in certain situations where the fee is for a special project and it's a valuable project to the particular client.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much. We're almost out of time. I don't know if anybody's got any questions for Colin or me yet, then feel free to type it in. If that comes in the next 20 seconds, we can get it answered. But otherwise, I'm just aware of the time, and we all have pretty busy schedules. Colin, thank you very much for sharing that information with us. That's a fantastic win, that. And I guess, the process you learned through that, even on smaller jobs, you can still apply a lot of that knowledge. Stephen Nixon just come in and said, can you confirm the 3 headings for the meeting? Can you recall those, Colin?
Yeah. The first one was the pains.
Yeah.
The second one was the project itself and the cost of not proceeding. So if you go back to your cash flow, you're really getting the value or the price of comparing. So the price to compare your price against the tax saving or the value that it could potentially bring to the client. And the third one was the actual investment itself, the price or the investment itself, and what the client was getting for that.
Good stuff. Okay,
And if
thanks
anyone,
very much.
I have that down on a Word document. If anyone wanted it, they're more than welcome to have it.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, Colin, if it's okay with you, would you mind sharing that with me, and I'll just get it emailed out to people who are on the call this morning, so they've got it then.
Yeah, no bother whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you very much. And also, like I said earlier, you know, on the value pricing script, if you go through that, I'm sure some of those headings will be covered in there. And also in the sales process on the Black Belt site, it also covers some of that. All right, hey, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge this morning, Colin. Really fantastic to do that.
You're welcome.
And I'm sure you're fully armed for when the next project like that comes along, because you've done it already, so you've got it there. So hey, thank you guys, thank you very much, really appreciate that. And to all the rest of you on the call, if you have any other questions about this that come up, feel free to email me or give me a call. And then I just wish you a fantastic rest of the day and rest of the week.
Thanks,
All right
Rudy.
then. Thanks very much, Colin and Jer. Bye.